This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on EU-Indo Pacific Ministerial Meeting, India's role in emerging dynamics of Indo-Pacific. The participants are Skand Ranjan Tayal, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist.
Today we are discussing the visit of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to Sweden, where he participated in the EU-India Pacific Ministerial Forum. He also met his counterparts from various nations on the sidelines. In his address later, Dr. S. Jaishankar made 6 very important points regarding the Indo-Pacific strategy and India-EU relations. Ambassador Tayal, when you see the points that Dr. S. Jaishankar has made, and he has also talked on a various number of subjects, how do you assess going forward the India-EU relationship when it comes to looking or the perspective on Indo-Pacific?
First, let me say that concept that Indo-Pacific region is one economic space, one strategic space, and one political space is gaining more and more traction and more acceptance in the global strategic community, and different countries as well as regional groups are forming their own positions on how to deal with the Indo-Pacific region. And the European Union had come out with its strategy for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific in 2021. And we've seen ASEAN also came out in 2021. So this is a trend, and this is a work in progress. And it is very important that how European Union looks at Indo-Pacific is in harmony with how India looks at Indo-Pacific, and there is more scope for cooperation between India and European Union in this region. And in that context, the statement of our External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was very profound, and it had very clear points on where the Indian interests and European Union interests match and how to go forward in this area, that Indo-Pacific remains a peaceful and stable space where progress continues unhampered.
Ambassador Tayal, we see that in the 6 points that the External Affairs Minister made, one of the points he said is the recent events have highlighted the problems with economic concentration as also the need for diversification. De-risking the global economy involves reliable and resilient supply chains and promoting trust and transparency in the digital forum. I wanted to talk a little about this word de-risking, because we have seen that of late, when it comes to China, this is a word that is being used again and again. So is the pointer somewhere that maybe the world today, including India, EU, needs to not really detach from China but de-risk from China?
Dr. Jaishankar also said that it is important that how non-market economies pose a formidable challenge to the normal market economies, which are the European Union, India, etc. And that hint was obviously towards China. Now, in the context of COVID as well as the expansionist policy of China, the danger is arising that so much concentration of manufacturing capacity in China, if that is disrupted because of some action of China on Taiwan or anywhere else, then there can be a very huge impact on global economy. And in that context, all the countries, whether it is major economies, whether it is United States, whether it is India, whether it is the European Union, are now thinking of de-risking, that how to reduce that risk. And that obviously means that in supply chain, the domination of Chinese manufacturing companies should be reduced, and the supply chains should become more resilient and more reliable only if they are not concentrated in one country. And that is the long-term policy on which the European Union would work along with like-minded countries like India.
Ambassador Tayal, we also see another point which the External Affairs Minister made, and that deals with multipolarity. He said that the more European Union and Indo-Pacific deal with each other, the stronger will be their respective appreciation of multipolarity. A multipolar world is feasible only by a multipolar Asia. Do you feel that the world is actually moving towards multipolarity? And in that multipolarity, do you also see within Asia multiple power structures?
Many analysts believe that what China is trying is to have a unipolar Asia or Indo-Pacific with its domination and US marginalized, and maybe a bipolar world where China and United States will perhaps dominate over the other countries. But naturally, other countries, the groups like European Union or major countries like India, Japan, and others would definitely work for a multipolar world. Now, the point Dr. Jaishankar made to the European Union partners was that if European Union is looking for or wants a multipolar world, then it is important that Asia, Indo-Pacific, must also be multipolar. It cannot be that if it is only bipolar, then the world will be multipolar. That is not possible. And if Indo-Pacific region is to be multipolar, then besides United States and China, there are other major poles can only be India and Japan, and European Union needs to think and work to strengthen India, Japan, Australia so that Indo-Pacific remains multipolar, and then naturally the world will also be multipolar.
Ambassador Payal, we also see that one of the points the External Affairs Minister made is on the Quad. And he said that any evaluation of the Indo-Pacific will naturally factor in the Quad as a platform for global good. How do you think does the Quad play into the Indo-Pacific strategy as far as the European Union is concerned?
Quad is a dialogue, a strategic dialogue among India, United States, Australia, and Japan, which is looking very deeply on the present as well as future trends of Indo-Pacific. And many countries and even European Union have been a little hesitant in dealing directly with Quad because they feel that perhaps China may not like it because they see that Chinese see this as a group to contain China. But that is not the point. The point is that Quad is a dialogue to ensure that like-minded countries work together so that Indo-Pacific remains open, inclusive, stable, and peaceful. And that is the objective which European Union will fully share. And Dr. Jaishankar hinted when he said that Quad is a platform for global good. It is not a group or to have any kind of domination or exclusive for the interests of the four participating countries. It is an open-ended group, and this is the beginning of a good dialogue between European Union and India so that European Union also looks for more collaboration with the Quad in the years to come.
Ambassador Payal, another thing that one sees in this ministerial meet is that while most of the discussions have focused, as you rightly pointed out before, China has not been mentioned by name in the External Affairs Minister's address, one of the main issues around which the discussions have evolved. But we also see that China has not been invited to participate in this forum. Do you feel that is again a strategic thing that China is not being made a part of the forum?
Yes, China has been very clear in reservations on the whole concept of Indo-Pacific, the whole concept that Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean are related and are one strategic space. In their statements, etc., also Chinese avoid using Indo-Pacific and they call it Asia-Pacific or other names. So perhaps that is why they have a problem at the conceptual stage that whether Indo-Pacific should be treated as one region, and that's why they are not in this forum. But India has also invited European Union to participate participate on our own Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, which is again a very positive set of action points. So this is the beginning of a dialogue, and I'm confident that European Union will come closer to India's perceptions on how to keep the entire Indo-Pacific region peaceful, stable, with open sea lines of communication.
Ambassador Payal, we also see that the minister said that transformations underway in India, like digital public delivery or green growth initiatives, merit EU's attention. India's rapidly expanding global footprint will intersect with the EU more in the coming years. Then get a sense that the way India is developing, whether it is economic, as a growing voice on the global stage, this will also increasingly increase the interactions between India and EU. And perhaps that is another reason why both need more of a common strategy when it comes to the Indian Indo-Pacific.
That's right. The engagement between European Union and India needs to increase, and one will be if the supply chains, as they become resilient, they are shifted from China towards India. And where India already has a lot of strength is the digital domain. And as the External Affairs Minister pointed out, India has very good achievements and in digital domain, and that is where India and European Union can work together. In public delivery, India's achievements have been absolutely phenomenal by our Aadhaar card and all the payments through smartphones, etc. And European Union can benefit from that experience. India's global footprint is rising. We have just recently the agreements in the West Asia, whether it is Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates, Israel. India is coming in a big way in economic actions in West Asia. So in addition to Indo-Pacific and East Asia. So India's global footprint is expanding, and much of it is economic, and where India and European Union can work together with benefit.
Ambassador Payal, we also saw that the External Affairs Minister, he had a number of bilaterals on the sidelines. And in his address, he also said India and EU need a regular, comprehensive and candid dialogue, especially with regards to the Indo-Pacific. Would you then say that the dialogue and the meetings that happen between India, the EU as a bloc and the EU countries individually, that also needs to go up as India goes in its profile and as India grows economically?
Yes, and the use of the word candid is important because India and European Union free trade agreement has been for discussion for a very long time, and it is important that that is finalized and European Union takes on board India's concerns, because ultimately the action will be more and more in the economic field. So that's why the External Affairs Minister said that India and EU need regular, comprehensive and candid dialogue. And I would think that this would cover, of course, Indo-Pacific and the designs of China or the dangers which emanate from China's expansionist policies, as well as the great necessity that European Union takes care of India's concerns while negotiating the free trade agreement and investment agreements with India, because India is a major country, 1.4 billion population. We have our own interest concerns, and which cannot be equated by the interest concerns and importance of any other country. So in that context, European Union needs to look at India with a different perspective and understand India's importance in keeping Indo-Pacific multipolar.
And with these thoughts, we bring today's discussion to an end. We will continue our discussions on the Indo-Pacific and the EU-India relations in the near future. With this, we bring it to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are listening to a discussion on EU-Indo Pacific Ministerial Meeting, India's role in emerging dynamics of Indo-Pacific. The participants were Skand Ranjan Tayal, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsttalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.